Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to the March LHI community call. This month we have an exciting presentation and discussion on updating to A2J Author 6 and moving from A2J Author 4. We're going to start as usual with quick LHI updates on changes to the system and some other conference and reporting updates. We'll then talk about the main topic of discussion. We have two wonderful guests, and then we'll wrap it up with a quick other updates, just trying to see who may be needing letters of support or moving forward on the TIG LOI process, helping people get ready for that. And then we'll have comments and open discussion. But we hope that the conversation is interacted on the A2J Author 4 piece, so raise your hand and we'll be looking in case you want to ask questions or provide comments or feedback. So let's just move down and get started. So I know that I've been emailing the list a lot, and I hope it is not annoying, but it's really important that we get feedback from all of the states where LHI interviews are being used. And so thanks to all of you who have already shared it with the partner survey with your partners, people who use or refer people to the forums, and then also developer surveys for those of you who are authoring and providing real close substantive feedback in testing interviews. But we need to continue requesting answers because we don't have yet all of the states, and we very much would like to have representation of everyone that some way or another is using the system. So sharing again the surveys for the partners and for the developers, and hoping that we can close this on Friday so that we can move into doing the analysis on other aspects of our evaluation. So thank you for all the feedback already. The other update is that we're going to be going to the NLADA ABA Equal Justice Conference in Louisville, Kentucky. So if anybody wants to connect with us in person or sit down and talk about their projects or anything like that, I'm going to be there. Miranda's going to be there for the Access to Justice Chair meeting, and there will be other Pro Bono Net staff. I'm doing 2 workshops during the conference, and we'll be sharing that through Pro Bono Net and other venues. But you're welcome to come and join us in our affinity meetings and things like that. The other quick update is that the Developers Resource Center is live, and we are moving developer-specific materials over there. So we invite you to check it out and give us feedback. If there are materials you want us to post, let us know. It's a more modern and kind of community-oriented way of supporting developers. So join and check it out and let us know what you need. Okay, so this is for Miranda.
Hi, everyone. So as mentioned in previous calls, we're taking some time the beginning of this year and late last year to do some updates to the LHI reporting tool. So just wanted to provide a status update on that work. Some of what we've been doing includes consolidating some of our usage reports. So we've been adding the mobile usage information into existing reports so you don't have to look in 2 places. And this consolidation is in testing and will be released shortly. We've also added some new data points to our reports, and we've been starting to collect some of this. So that includes things like unique interviews. So if you have an interview that assembles multiple documents, right now each document is counted as a document generated, but may not really reflect the numbers that you want to show because it's really one interview being completed. So we're doing unique documents generated now, so it'll be a 1-to-1 ratio. And we'll also have our traditional reports so you can compare apples to apples. We'll also be reporting on interview complexity. So a very simple letter to the landlord will have a lower complexity rating than a more complex appeal, for instance. So we want to be able to differentiate levels of complexity in reports as well. So we've taken some steps to do that. We've also taken some steps to review average number of passes, so how many times somebody goes through an interview before assembly, and kind of tie that to a particular assembly number. You may have heard us talk about partner accessible reports. So we finished those at the end of last year and shared them earlier in the year with a few partners in an informal pilot. So those will be available more broadly beginning next month. We are just finalizing some updates based on pilot feedback. And the next slide talks about some of the recent changes that are some related to reports, some not, to the LHI site from the last code push. It looks like there might be a slide missing, but I'll talk about these changes. So the A2J, okay, here's one. Here's the right slide. Okay, so we had a code release earlier in the month, and it included some new metadata fields. One is called Completed Interview Custom Text, and that allows you to add additional content instructions for users after they finish an interview. We also added to the metadata field a complexity scale that we're asking developers to indicate the level of complexity of a particular interview, and we'll be incorporating that into the reports that I talked about in the last slide. We also added a line for organizations. Right now, the organization defaults to LawHelp Interactive, but we want to be able to report out on content by organization. So we ask that you update your metadata page to include the organization affiliated with a particular interview. And then the next screen talks about an A2J Author Guided Interview pop-up message. So when an A2J Author for Guided Interview is launched on LHI, we have the capacity to give users a warning around Flash Player. So that hasn't been enabled yet, and we'll hear a little bit more in the presentation about why that might be important. And I'll just pause because there appears to be a question. Is this tutorial relevant if we are hosting the interview on our own system? So I think that question is about whether the conversion process is relevant if you're hosting your A2J Author interview on your own system. But if the person that asked the question, okay. So I don't know, Jess or Claudia, if you want to speak to that.
It'd still be relevant because you still need to convert. The same problems that LHI is seeing with A2J4 interviews would be relevant to any A2J4 interviews, and the same benefits for converting to A2J6, same process. So I think it would still be relevant.
Okay, great, thanks. So I'll continue to move through these updates, but feel free to ask questions. We've also implemented a download progress indicator. So when somebody is downloading an LHI document and their computer is taking a little bit of time to finish the download, you'll see a percentage of download flash on the screen so you know that it's working. Claudia talked about the partner and developer survey. In our last code push, we implemented an end user survey, and we'll be taking that down shortly. But we want to be able to get feedback on LHI from not just partners and developers, but also end users. So that's why that's been implemented in the site. We continue to make changes to site content, kind of refine language on the site. So we've done some of that in the last code push. And we haven't done this yet, but we want you to begin thinking about possible updates to the download your form button. We've gotten some feedback that this language, download your form, is unclear for some users. So we're looking to improve that language. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. So let's get to the nitty-gritty, the main focus on on the call, which is talking about converting from A2J Author 4 to A2J Author 6. And this is, when thinking about how to introduce this topic, these were some of the things that we're grappling with as we support everyone that continues to use, particularly end users that continue to have the only option to use an A2J4. Looking at numbers that we have, out of all the A2J4s and 6s that are in the system, only about 27% of them have been converted to A2J6. And we have been really pushing on this since 2017. So this is not what I was hoping. I was hoping that with all the emails and contact and calls and everything, that we would be at least with only a remaining 70% converted. So this is really a call to move. And I know that many states have done this already. And I want to thank them for paying attention to it and for putting the resources to do the conversion to 6, because it really helps their users. The main reason for this request, and Jessica's going to get into all the new features that A2J6 has, but really from a community service, nonprofit, mission-driven organization like most of us are here, it is a big problem for the end users when there's a flash base interview, and they can't either open it or assemble it. And it is tens of thousands of people each week that are dealing with this issue, because the interview is still in an old-fashioned, non-supported flash software. And it really doesn't do them any favors to give them a link to something that they may be able to use or not, depending on how browser savvy they are, what browsers they have, and whether they can install and move through the interview, and whether the interview would even assemble at the end, because many of them end up not assembling. So it's a service to your users to keep those interviews live. And the other thing is that it does nurture brand. It illustrates the users. It doesn't capitalize. I mean, some of these interviews that you have on 4 are great, are substantial, and they're very favored in terms of use. And there's a lot of expertise there. And though it may require a new way of designing the interview in new software tools, you have the expertise, and we're going to talk about how we're going to support you. So it's important to transfer that over to supported software. And I really think that it weakens your partnerships, because we get the emails on the support. The courts refer me to this interview and it didn't work for me. The library told me to use this interview and it's not, I don't even know what to do with the flash because it's not my computer. It really damages that flow of referral. And on our end, we get a lot of emails every month from end users. And honestly, I would love to be able to ignore those emails and reports for requests. Like, I have a flash and I'm using Edge. It's not working. We've said many times that Edge is not supported. We've said many times that Flash doesn't work anymore with Microsoft browsers. But we keep getting the feedback, and to the degree that they're end users or people in the community, we feel the obligation to respond. But I would rather have our time be invested in doing more meaningful support to all of you, being more proactive and having that time go to not having to be responding to things that we can change on the LHI side. And CALI can change on the CALI side. So it has an impact on the level of support and capacity we can bring, and how we, support all of you in doing the best that you can. So there is a cost that we bear because we're a shared network of resources. So from my perspective, I think it's really important to heed this call, and I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, where she can go through the features and all the new functionality that the A2J Author Interview 6 provide, in case some of you haven't reviewed that lately. So
thank you. So I am Jessica Frank. I'm an A2J Authors project manager, and I actually get the fun part today about Claudia was the stick there, and I get to be the carrot in talking about all of the things that are beneficial with A2J6 that you might want to use rather than how Flash is quickly deprecating over the internet and how you really need to convert from A2J4 because it's no longer supported. So here's some of the benefits that you're missing out of by not using A2J6. You can go to the next slide. The first one is the mobile. Go back one, please. Back one slide, please. Keep skipping over that right there. So this little GIF is just showing the mobile responsive viewer. We're still one off, Claudia, sorry. This is just showing how the most important, or at least to me, I think the coolest part about A2J6 is that it has the mobile responsive viewer. So what this little GIF is showing you is how the screen, as the screen size shrinks down, the end user still has the experience of a guided interview, but the look changes a little bit. So it starts out with the desktop version here, and as the screen shrinks, like the end user is accessing it on a tablet and then even smaller on a smartphone, they can still use a guided interview, which is not something that's possible with Flash. Flash has never run on smartphones. And so something like 50% of the people generally are coming to these websites, to our websites, using smartphones. And so we're missing out on half the people that could be running guided interviews. So that's one of the main benefits. If you can go to the next slide. The other thing that you're missing out on not using A2J6 are A2J analytics. We released the A2J viewer containing the A2J analytics a year ago in early 2018, and it went live on LHI production site in the summer. And so what the A2J analytics show you beyond what you might have with Google Analytics or other run reports is you can see how end users move through your interview. And you can see if they're clicking pop-ups. Are they clicking the learn mores that you've invested time creating? Are they leaving at the point in which you expect them to leave on a sorry you don't qualify question or at the end? Or are they leaving somewhere in the middle of your interview where you might need to review, is a question too difficult? Is it asking something they can't answer? Is it some other sticking point? So there's all sorts of information you can get from within the interview now with A2J analytics. It also shows how long people are spending in an interview, whether they're a return user. And just to note, nothing of what we're collecting is personally identifiable information. We anonymize the last 4 digits of the IP address and we collect it, and that's not even generally to the county level in terms of geolocation. But you can see where people are using your interviews, what browsers they're using, what devices they're coming to, and just a bunch of stuff that you're missing if you don't have A2J6 interviews. This is not available in the A2J4 viewer. Next slide, please. Another benefit to A2J6 is that we did in early last year, and then we talked about it in the April 2018 new user webinar. We had an accessibility audit done by an outside company. They came through and walked through the entire interview or through the entire A2J viewer and then gave us things that we could fix to make it compliant with WCAG 2.0. So WCAG is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and there are different levels in terms of the accessibility. There's A, AA, and AAA. We're finishing up AA compliance, and we expect to be AAA compliant by the end of the year. So this is things like ADA compliance. So it's the web standards to make something ADA compliant. So color contrast is proper, the tagging of the metadata on the back end so it can work with screen readers, making sure things don't change too quick to trigger seizures, all sorts of little things that we're doing on our end and that what you can do on your end to make it better for your end users as well. And you can watch that accessibility webinar that was April of last year on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/A2J Author, or follow that direct link there. Next slide, please. Another feature of A2J6 is more extensive reporting. So in A2J4, you could run a full report or you could run a translation report. Both of those are still available, but they're a little bit more accessible in terms of you can capture them on the web. You can have the grading in it for the Flesch Kincaid level. You can print preview, that kind of stuff. You can copy and paste out of it into some other device or other software if you'd like. We also have the citation report, which we added at the end of 2017, which allows you as the author to add in little basically breadcrumbs for the next person that has to work on this. So we're finding during this conversion process that there are a lot of assumptions or logic or ways that questions were asked that the next author down the line doesn't know why the first author asked that. Like, why is there logic that says if income is greater than 25,000, kick them out? Where did 25,000 come from? So now you can add citations in there that tell the next person down the line, or even yourself in a year or two, why you made certain assumptions or why you did logic a certain way. So 25,000 is the 125% of the poverty guidelines, and that's our intake cap in 2019. Like a simple little note to the next person down the line. And all of those little notes can be pulled together into a citation report so that you can quickly check if your A2J guided interview is still good law, is still following good law. Sort of like shepherdizing your guided interview. That was sort of our point behind making that one. So that's in 6 as well. Next slide, please. One more slide, please. Thanks. Another new feature that we're rolling out this year are new avatars. We've heard you. We know that the old way of asking what's your gender to pick your avatar is not the most inclusive way that that question can be asked for the ultimate end result of you want someone to have an avatar. And so we worked with our designers to create new avatars in addition to our 2, a younger female male in a wheelchair and then the older version as well. And instead of asking what's your gender, we're creating a new field that will be something like avatar selection or end user avatar, something like that. And it will pop up like this to the end user. They'll see all 8 avatars and they'll be able to pick a range of 5 skin tones and then a range of the 8 hair colors plus no hair as an option. Because ultimately we want it to be as inclusive as possible without end users spending too much time picking out something that isn't really relevant to filling out the form. We will still have the user gender variable. So if you're using that, if your current existing A2J4, you convert it into an A2J6, and it's out there in the wild, it will still work properly. It's only if you want to access this new avatar selection, you'll have to go in and add that new avatar selection field. But that's not out yet. We're still working on the back-end code. But this is something that you will be able to have in A2J6 that you would not have in an A2J4. Next slide, please. And then the final benefit to moving to A2J6 is the ability to access the A2J document assembly tool. So we call it the DAT, D-A-T. But this is a new feature we added in 2016. That started, and then we added the PDF enhancement to it as well about a year ago. And the DAT allows you to create an entire document assembly package within A2J Author. You won't have to use Hot Docs or any other, sorry, the dog's barking in the background, or any other tool to have a complete package. So if you have simple motions, forms, simple letters, you can use the text template. If you have existing court documents, or existing forms that are in PDF format, you can upload those and automate on top of them. So this is available on LHI, completely supported, but you cannot access the DAT without having an A2J6 front end because it's sort of the template lives inside of an A2J6 interview. Next slide, please. And if you need help or need a refresher, or you're new to authoring and you've never done this before, maybe you've just been assigned to do these conversions, you can try out our sample exercises. We had a TIG from last year to create 10 sample exercises to help authors learn how to automate in A2J Author in sort of like a worksheet kind of exercise. And we actually have 11 now. I added a new one last week. And these sample exercises range from simple little like 30 to 50-minute exercise that gets your feet sort of wet in A2J Author and teaches you the basics, to something very complicated like nested repeat loops or multi-template document creation that can take a couple of hours. So we really want to make it so that if you need a refresher, you can walk through these, or if you're brand new, you could teach yourself how to author using these sample exercises. They're on our website under this link, or you can go to the Learn tab when you're on our website, and if you hover over it, a drop-down menu will show with the sample exercises. And then last slide, please. If you have questions or you need help with authoring or with converting, you can always email me, jessica@cali.org. Our website, where all the authoring happens, is a2jauthor.org, and you can follow us along on Twitter @A2J for updates, code pushes, and interesting, hopefully, document assembly news. So thank you all for listening.
And Jessica, we had a question about on the mobile look and feel of A2J Author 6 about the white space and whether there was that's something that developers can control, the amount of white space that shows up.
No, and it looks like a lot of white space on there. When it's on a mobile device, it's much smaller. Yeah. That the GIF that was showing was probably more of a like a phablet size. I didn't shrink it down to the full mobile size. But you can go on LHI and run any of the A2J6 interviews on your phone, or if somebody needs a link, they can reach out to me and I'll shoot them a link that they can open on their phone to see how it actually looks. But no, you can't control how much, like the design of A2J in general as a developer.
Okay. And just to corroborate that we are seeing an increase in mobile as interviews and use on the LHI side too. So, you know, that has been a positive in terms of increasing access. So I'm going to go, and now we're going to go to LaDeirdre MckInney, who is going to talk to us about conversion and how to convert your library.
All right, so hello everyone. We heard why we should do it and a lot of benefits, and I'm going to basically kind of go through how to do it. A lot of programs think that this is a daunting task and are just reluctant to get started, so I want to hopefully inspire you to start this project. And we'll go to the next slide. So the conversion actually is, the initial conversion itself actually is very, very easy, especially for the programs. I spoke to a couple programs and they're like, well, these work fine. They haven't had a lot of negative feedback. So if that is the case, then your conversion is even easier. All you need to do is find your interview files on LawHelp Interactive, save those to your computer, and then you just upload it to A2J Author 6, and that is the initial conversion. Once you've done that, you technically have an A2J 6 interview. You would, of course, want to go check your links and make sure everything transferred correctly, which most of the time it does. You may have to just substitute some links and make sure they work. But other than that, it could be as easy as that. And we'll go to the next slide, and I have a demo here of exactly how that works. And so as you can see, first I go to our website and I pull up an interview. And this interview is in A2J 4. So you can see it takes a little bit longer to load up, but it is there. And assuming that all the content in this interview is really good and good to go, all I want to do is convert it. I find it in LHI. You can see it's in 4 and it's live. you do have to scroll over to grab the files. So I download the A2J4 layer and click download. You can save it wherever you'd like on your computer. And then once you've saved the file to your computer, you want to open up your A2J6. This is what it looks like on the developer side. You want to click upload your guided interview. It's not showing my files on my computer, but I'm searching for the file that I just saved. And then there it is. And it's green, so that's how you know I just uploaded it. And then I clicked it, and I'm just going to push preview. And as you can see, everything transferred over, and it looks just like the A2J4 interview. It's working, and now it's in 6. So that video was less than 2 minutes, so that just goes to show how quickly you can do these conversions, and hopefully inspire you to start. We can go to the next slide.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay. So the conversion process. So the first thing you want to do is get organized. And what I mean by this is go through your interviews that you have in A2J4 and see which ones are being used or not being used. A lot of us, we wear a lot of hats, a lot of different hats in our programs, and we don't want to waste time. So find out if there's some interviews that aren't really used, or, you know, you don't need them anymore. And then I would also suggest prioritizing your interviews so that the ones that are used the most, you can convert those first and kind of work your way through your library. After you prioritize, you have a subject matter expert, which is someone on your staff, someone in your state who is knowledgeable on that type of law. Go through the script, make sure everything is relevant and up to date. The easiest way to do that is just to download the scripts, and Jessica shared with us how to do those and the different types of scripts. This would be a great time to just pull the text only script, and then they can kind of just use track changes to change any part of the interview that needs to be updated. Then the third step is to actually make the conversion, which is the video that we just watched, which is super easy. Again, and then you need to test it. This is the part that actually takes the most time, is testing it. Again, you want to make sure that all your logic still makes sense, that all your links work. If you're referencing different buttons, they are on different places in A2J6. So you want to make sure that those references are updated to mirror the A2J6 interface. And then once you did that, then your interview is ready to go and can be live. Go to the next one. So here at MLH, this was, we keep track of all of our feedback that we get, and I went through and I looked at some of the feedback right before we started our conversion project. And these are just a few of the issues. Well, the biggest issue that we were having is that you can't backspace in A2J4. And as you can see, it was very annoying to users. One of them says that, you know, there was a flaw in design, but really it's not. It's really, you just have to update your interview, and then this won't be an issue. And again, like Claudia said, when we're getting these feedbacks, we'd like to spend our time doing more fulfilling things and letting people know that, like, we're sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. And we also don't want people to get frustrated because we're doing all this work to have interviews, and we want to make sure that people are able to use them. So what's the next one? So in Michigan, we have a TIG currently, and Jessica is on this TIG with us as well. And we've been assisting different programs with their conversion process. And so I just kind of put what we've done with each program just to kind of show that each program kind of starts in a different place and they need assistance with different things and with different levels. So in Ohio, we basically are just in a project management role with them. They have the in-house capacity to do, to pull their own scripts, to do the subject matter expert review, to convert, and to do their own testing. So what we did was we initially sat down with them. We helped them prioritize their library, and kind of really just help them get started. And then from then on, we hold monthly calls with them to check in with them, make sure that everything is running smoothly, to kind of just be that reminder that this is a project that needs to get done. And then if they have any questions or anything, then we're able to help them kind of move through their bumps. So that's what the project management portion of all of these mean. We've done testing for a lot of programs as well. This is one of the most time-consuming parts, but I really like it, and it really is something that we love to help other programs do. We even have our students help test, which is nice. And then with Arkansas, we've actually helped them actually update their forms. And with Tennessee, we just did the little conversion part for them, and they've done everything else. So everyone starts in a different place and needs assistance in a different way, but there is assistance for you. I'll go to the next one. So, back one, sorry. Okay, so some common obstacles. So everyone knows the first one is resources. Do you have the extra funding, or do you have someone on your staff that knows how to do this? We definitely want to encourage people, especially if you have a big library, to try to, apply for a grant or somehow get extra funding. If that's not an option, I would encourage that you train someone on your staff how to do this. I haven't only been a developer for like a little bit over a year. It is a learning process, but it's not impossible. Again, Jessica presented a lot of resources for new users. They are very helpful. They're easily searchable, and it can be done. Another thing that people or programs are really struggling with putting conversion as a priority, because, again, a lot of people at organizations like my own, we wear a lot of different hats, and there's a lot of things that we're responsible for. My advice for this is just you have to make this conversion a priority, because you just don't want to have these interviews not work, because then you're doing users a disservice. Another reason that I've spoke to people that say they haven't started or don't want to start their conversion is because there's been a change to the forms. I don't feel that that's a reason to put it off, because a lot of forms, especially if they're PDF, are really easy to update. And if anybody needs help with that, then we'd be happy to show you how to do that. And a lot of people just don't know where to start. There's just so much. Either they have a really big library, or they've usually contract this work out, so they have no idea. And my advice is just get started. We here in Michigan, we have a nice sized library, and we are almost done with our conversion. So I would be happy to help any program get started, help you get organized, walk you through the process. I have spreadsheets, I have a document that explains a conversion process, and I would be happy to share with anyone that would like it. And the last obstacle is programs will start the conversion, and then it just kind of falls by the wayside. Again, want to encourage any program that has started but hasn't really been able to take any interviews all the way to the live to just stick to your plan, make some deadlines for your program to start getting these interviews converted, and last but not least, just don't give up. So your options are to convert your library. That's what we're here for. That's what this call is about. We really want to encourage you guys to get started. The other option, you can go ahead and click, is to retire old forms. So again, going through your library, seeing what forms you use, what forms you don't use, what forms are not used by the court anymore, and if you decide that it's not of value to your program to have it active, then retire the form so that users aren't clicking it and getting frustrated with an outdated interview. And that's it for me. Again, if anyone has any questions about organization, prioritizing, just getting their project started, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help.
LaDeirdre, is the video posted somewhere outside of the slides that we could share on the chat?
It isn't, but I can post it somewhere, wherever you would like.
Okay, let's do that because I think some people may want to watch it again.
Okay.
We also have a conversion. We did several webinars on converting that have similar instructions like that on our YouTube channel. If you just go to the A2J Author one, there's a bunch of how to convert.
Okay, and then for the people, because we have some folks that are not using LHI as their server, but they have local servers. Local servers that, you know, they have A2J authors to do like intake or something local without being on the LHI server. Can you comment on that? It's basically the same process, right?
Yep, exact same process, except you wouldn't push the publish to LHI button when you're finished with your conversion. And you will need to update your viewer for the A2J6 viewer. Reach out to me and I'll send you the GitHub repository for that.
Okay. And if you hover on Jessica's name, you can see her email. If you want to email her directly, or maybe we can put it on the chat. So, okay, so just the last part, we're gonna open it up to see if we need more resources or things to surface out. Is our next call is gonna be in April, and we're gonna be focusing on debugging. And the capstone is gonna lead a conversation on debugging LHI applications, looking both at the hot docs debug function and then some of the other common data issues that come in to LHI with A2J author interviews, etc. Just reminders of things to pay attention to and to look for so that at the end the interviews work well. We'll be sharing it through the list and doing the outreach as we always do. So we hope we see some of you on debugging. So let's open it up for questions if people want. Oh, I think we had another question. Hold on. There was a question, I think, about the analytics part, Jessica. Hold on. Let me go see if I can find it. Yeah, let me unmute people. Marilyn, I'm gonna unmute you so you can ask your questions because I probably will ask it the wrong way. So I'm gonna unmute you because you had a question.
Jessica, it's Marilyn Hart. After I asked you the question, I went on the A2J website and I found the whole section on analytics, so I'm good.
Okay, yeah, in case anyone has questions about the analytics, we did a full write-up and an update to our privacy policy, both under the About tab on a2jauthor.org. So the privacy policy updates and then analytics discussing what we're collecting and how and so forth.
Okay, great. And then there was a question about what's in the LF import program. Was the LF import program updated as well? And this was from Cliff. I'm gonna unmute Cliff so he can ask the question directly. Cliff, I unmuted you.
Okay, I was just curious if the LF import process or application part of it had also been updated.
Is that for, I don't know what the LF import process is. I don't know what you mean. Sorry.
Okay, so we run the A2J locally. So after the interview is created, it creates that XML file
Right.
From here, there's another piece that we do with it where we check a button and then it actually takes that process and sticks it directly into our legal files application as an intake.
So the output, okay, so the output from an A2J4 and an A2J6 is exactly the same.
Gotcha.
If you're self-hosting, you have to update the A2J viewer to A2J6, and that's on our GitHub repo. And then you just have to make sure that your transform is doing what it's supposed to be. So we've done a couple transform projects before, but yeah, sorry, that's that in-between piece that sends it from A2J into your system.
Okay. So that transform piece is what I need to check out as well then. And I'm sure there's some kind of updates maybe. I don't know.
So we just did one, and I don't think any updates need to be made except for adding some stuff that the case management system had added. Like there were additional variables, but the functionality of it worked exactly the same.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments? We have time to view the video again if people want to watch the video again, just quickly, because we're not supposed to until the hour. So we could show that if that's of interest.
Claudia, can you put my email and the GitHub repository in the chat? I'm limited to just posting to panelists.
Yeah.
Just so everyone can see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Should we show the video again? We'll do it because I think people wanted to see it again. And I don't know, LaDeirdre, if you want to narrate it.
Oh, I can narrate it again if you'd like.
Yeah.
The first part just shows the interview in A2J4 and how it appears. Then you go to LHI, you find the file for that same interview, and download the file to your computer. You can save it as whatever you'd like. And then once you have done that, open up A2J6. I don't know where it went.
Oops, sorry. I don't know.
Oh, is it going to start over?
Oh, Lord. Okay, let's see.
Just fast forward it. So you open up A2J6, and then you push upload A2J Guided Interview. And then there you have it. Your interview will appear. As a converted file.
Yeah, and we'll share the video so that people can use it before they start the process. But if anybody else wants to raise their hand or even share, I mean, it's okay to sometimes. It's good to talk about what's hard if people want to hear how other people have overcome the obstacles. I see a raised hand. It was from Marilyn. I'm going to unmute you again, Marilyn. I don't know if it's new comment or not, but.
Thank you. So I got as far as you can get it. You have your 6th interview. Can you use the update interview then so that your URLs are still the same, or when you upload it back? Or I missed that part. I didn't follow what you were saying.
Okay, I don't think I understand the question. I apologize.
So
It's for updating so that your URL stays the same. I think
Yeah.
it has to be a new URL because it's a different path for an A2J6 viewer.
Yes.
okay.
So it will be a new URL. What we do in Michigan, we just switch it out. But that's why we keep the tracking sheets as well, to keep the URLs, keep them straight so we understand which goes with which.
Okay, so when you load it back up, you load it as a new interview and grab the URL and go through and change.
Yes.
Not a problem. I just needed, I thought that, I didn't understand that, so I was sure maybe some other people didn't as well.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I've made my list while we're here.
You get organized.
Great.
I did.
Great. Yeah, and you know, we'll continue to monitor conversion and all of that, and really thank everybody that's moving. You know, of the 1704 or 3 that we have in A2J Author, many of them are retired, so it's not the whole universe that's not retired, but we really want to get to have all of the A2J4 retire soon. Not as much, you know, there are issues for us as a network, but really it's the issue to the end user because it becomes a really suboptimal experience for them. So we'll continue to reach out one-on-one. You know, we do email people individually and give them the list of what's pending conversion, and then encourage them to work on that. I did want to talk about, hopefully some of you did put in LOIs to do LHI, you know, conversions. So if any of you need help with sample letters of support, if any of you get invited for the next round of funding for the LSC TIG fund, you know, reach out either to me or Miranda. We have sample letters of support, anything like that that you need to get your application ready if you're invited to apply. Happy to support you. And if you know, once in a while we find other resources that may be local in nature or federal in nature, maybe funds that you can use to, you know, to improve your collection, add new forms, and then clean up the ones you have. We will keep trying to do those one-on-one and also through calls, flag those when we think, oh, this is maybe a call that could be used to clean up the collection and improve the forms and do some of the substantive quality review and all of that. So that, you know, there will be funding and hopefully resources, but for the upcoming TIG, I think that they said they were gonna release by April 30th. If anybody put in LOIs to do conversions, reach out because we have samples, and I'll be sending those through the list too. We have sample letters and things like that that can make sure people know that your project is well supported by a partnership with multiple groups. So just be on the lookout for that. Okay. Well, I don't know. Anybody else have questions or comments? Raise your hand or no? Okay. Well, thank you both Jessica and LaDeirdre for sharing all of this and for preparing all the materials for the call. And Miranda for all of the updates, and all of you who came and stayed on to now and participated. Hopefully this was helpful, and we'll be on standby if anybody needs support. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care. Thank you.